For a decade, there was a ban on so-called assault weapons and high-capacity ammunition magazines like those used in the shooting at Annunciation Catholic School on Wednesday. Minneapolis's mayor today called for the ban, which expired in 2004, to be renewed. A study published last fall looked at the ban's effectiveness. So for tonight's interview, we are joined by Lori Ann Post, director of the Institute for Public Health and Medicine at Northwestern and a co-author of that report. Professor, thank you for joining us. What does your study tell us about so-called assault weapon bans and the impact they would have on mass shootings?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. Basically, we found that during the imposition of the federal assault weapons ban, that there was a significant reduction in mass shootings, and that went from September of 1994 through September of 2004.
And walk me through the study. What accounted for that finding? How was that conclusion reached?
So basically, we just do a natural experiment where we look at what was the impact on the number of mass shootings. We looked at also the lethality, the number of injuries, and we found that, it's intuitive that if you have assault weapons that with high capacity magazines, that you can shoot many more rounds, per minute. And so we found that shooters were shooting when they didn't have access to assault weapons. Far fewer people were killed in mass shootings, and far fewer people were injured during mass shootings. And so we just looked at before, during, and after, and then we found significant difference.
So if I think I hear you, you're saying that it's both the number of fatalities but also the actual number of shootings. Is that right?
That is correct. But we also found something else really interesting, and that is that it actually stopped some mass shooters from committing mass shootings because the number of mass shootings themselves stopped. So there's something about assault weapons that emboldens mass shooters to commit a mass shooting.
And is it possible to know the mechanics of how a piece of legislation like that one actually play out? In other words, what friction they put in the system that causes fewer incidents?
Just harder to obtain. Now it's more difficult to say what would be the impact of a federal assault weapons ban if another one were put into place, because so many weapons have been sold. In 1994, not that many people had them. But anyways, just having them dry up or disappear or access to them became very difficult. And so somebody who would plan a new, mass shooting wouldn't have a way or a means to do so. So just prohibiting that was, very effective at stopping mass shootings and then lowering the lethality.
Is there anything that can be learned or that you learned about the psychological role that some of these weapons play in the sort of fantasy that these shooters engage in?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me start off with, I'm not a psychologist. However, we do look at, many mass shooters, what they wrote about, what they would post on social media. And there are many mass shooters that like to dress up commando style. It's almost like putting on a costume and needing an assault rifle to do that, and posing with it, taking pictures of it, posting signs or social media postings, how they would use those guns.
And are you working on anything at the moment on this in this area?
Yeah, I am. I'm working currently on a study about mass shooter typologies, because we can't predict from past mass shootings about who future mass shooters might be, but we can look and identify what typologies are.